And we are live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And before we get into episode 17, I want to give a quick reminder to everybody that's watching or listening. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and turn on your post notifications on, because we are always bringing you Detroit Pistons content pretty much consistently every week. You are getting a bunch of Pistons content from us, and you want to stay up to date and in the know about everything that's going on with the Detroit Pistons. So make sure to like and subscribe and turn on those post notifications. Now, we are officially at episode 17, and with the newly acquired RJ Hampton, we want to kind of do a deep dive on the newest Detroit Piston. And this is a guy that back in 2020, I was kind of hoping the Pistons would make a little bit of a run for him.
Yep.
And he got drafted right around where Sadiq did and Isaiah. He was kind of in the same category. So let's kind of get into the history of RJ Hampton. How did you approach this topic today, Ryan?
So I took as deep of a dive as you could get.
I like it.
I went all the way back to high school. I went NBL. I went NBA, obviously, but he didn't play college, but that's the reason for the NBL.
Right.
But coming out of high school, he was ranked 5th in the country for ESPN.
Wow.
On their top 100 in the 2019 class, which is really good.
Oh, yeah.
And some other teammates of his now are also on that, in the top 5, actually. James Wiseman, number 1. Isaiah Stewart, number 3. And so we have 3 of the top 5 players from that recruiting class on the Pistons.
Which is crazy.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about that.
No.
And like RJ Hampton, the reason why he went to the NBL rather than going to college is because he wanted more competition. He thought that playing professional basketball early on would help him compete at a higher level, but also gain the experience to just make the jump right away into the NBA.
Totally.
And it didn't flaw him. I think it translated perfectly for him. The only downside is in that 1 year, he was having an kind of start of the season. He was averaging like 8.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and was shooting 29% from 3, which is awful.
Yeah, not great.
But then he had a hip injury that ended his season after just 15 games. So there wasn't really a year in the NBL. So that really made him fall down on the draft board. Because everybody was like, oh, he should be a top 5 pick, or at least a lottery pick.
Right.
And then that season happens, and then he just falls off the earth.
Yeah.
So he's still good. He's not a bust, because there's been a couple articles going around saying that there's Weaver going after another bust.
Yeah.
He doesn't go after busts.
No.
He goes after highly talented players that just haven't had the opportunities that others have had.
Right.
And so,
I agree.
There's James Wiseman as an example. Everybody was kind of hating on that move. Look what he's done so far.
Mm-hmm.
He's improved every single game he's played in as a Piston.
Yeah.
He led our team in scoring the other night.
Yeah, right.
Like, he's doing just fine.
Right.
And so I think this move for RJ Hampton is going to help the team like James Wiseman has already.
Yeah, and we've seen him. We talked about it in the recap the other night. We've seen him not necessarily statistically blow us away, but with his energy off the bench, it is just so nice to see him and Hamidou play with each other and kind of see those two guys just get up and down the court.
Yeah, like, he's solid. And I just want to throw this out there.
Yeah.
The definition of a bust. A draft bust is a highly touted or highly selected draftee who does not meet expectations, meaning he had to be a high pick Was he a high pick? No, he was 24 overall. So
Right.
therefore, he's not a bust.
No, I agree.
He's not a bust.
I mean, it's like saying Sadiq Bey's a bust.
Yeah, he's
because
not
he
a
was
bust.
taken right around the same
Sadiq
time.
Bey was 19 overall.
Yeah, so 5 picks later, it's RJ Hampton. It's like Sadiq's on his second team. Does that mean he's a bust?
No, he's not a bust.
No. So
No.
it's like, I don't agree with, Troy Weaver only gets busts, but
Yeah.
it's like, no,
No.
these are guys that were in a rebuild.
Yeah.
And these are guys that have a lot of potential athletically, very skilled offensively, but they haven't found their home yet.
Yeah.
And we got to see if they find their home in Detroit, because if they do, the payoff is only going to be that much better.
Like Wiseman just has a clear example. In just a couple games, he's been through the roof in what we've expected out of him.
Right.
And that's just because he doesn't have to necessarily go out and play at a playoff caliber level. He can just do his thing.
Right.
And that's what these young guys need. Like RJ Hampton, he got drafted by the Bucks, traded to Denver. With the Nuggets, he
Didn't have much time.
didn't have much time. He only played 25 games in Denver.
Yep.
Because he was a part of the Aaron Gordon trade.
Right.
Which he was actually a crucial piece in that trade.
Yeah.
So it's like
A lot of the weight.
Orlando wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 25 games in Denver, he played 9 minutes, averaged like 2 points, 2 rebounds. That was it. Nothing special.
Right.
And then in 26 games in Orlando, all of a sudden he's playing 25 minutes and averaging 11 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Like, you can see he can play.
Right.
But I think who he had to compete with was a big reason why he kind of just fell off a little bit. Is because his notable key teammates he had to compete with while in Denver and Orlando, Gary Harris, Monte Morris, Jamal Murray, Austin Rivers, Cole Anthony, Michael Carter-Williams, Markelle Fultz, Terrence Ross, Jalen Suggs.
Right.
Like, Orlando at the time, very guard heavy.
Yep.
They're just, historically speaking, very guard heavy.
Yep.
So how is RJ Hampton supposed to compete with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many minutes you can give away, right? And if you're a coach, who I believe the Magic coach is Jamal Mosley,
I believe so.
so I mean, it's a tough decision when you have Markelle Fultz, Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, and I'm missing one.
Terrence Ross.
Terrence Ross at the time. He was now traded. Gary Harris.
Yeah.
Gary Harris is a great vet who was, when RJ Hampton got a lot of those minutes, was out with a torn meniscus. So, yes, did he completely fill the Gary Harris role? No, not exactly. But when Gary Harris is in, he's going to be getting those minutes because he's a baller. He's a hooper.
Yeah. I honestly think RJ Hampton, he had the mindset going in like, oh, I can just go in and be fine because I played at pro basketball in the NBL kind of thing. But I think he's the kind of player that needs to develop, like James Wiseman.
Yeah,
James
totally.
Wiseman being a top overall pick, of course he's legit, but he also needs to develop.
Totally.
Every player develops over their NBA career. So RJ Hampton still needs to develop. And Denver wasn't giving him that opportunity, clearly, because they traded him away for Aaron Gordon. And then Orlando never gave him that opportunity, actually, because then they drafted Jalen Suggs, and they just drafted all these guys after trading for him, and it's like,
Where's the belief in him?
yeah, they really didn't believe in him at all.
Yeah.
So now the Pistons are giving him an opportunity here, even though he's behind Cade and Killian there. He can still get crucial minutes.
Important question that I kind of want to shine some light on is we were talking earlier today about how he has 1 year and then a team option.
Yeah.
How crucial is that team option when picking up a guy like RJ Hampton, where we know he's got talent, but he is a gamble. We don't necessarily know that he is going to pan out. How crucial is that team option?
I think you see it as this. Let's say RJ Hampton plays the last 20-some games like he has in the last 2 here.
Yeah.
Where his stats are all over the place. He's not like putting up high numbers, but he's a good energy guy. I see the Pistons picking up the team option. Even though he doesn't do a whole lot, I still see them doing it because it's like he's giving us energy, and we like that, and he's young, and he's super talented, and so I want to give him the opportunity to develop.
A point to be made, too, is Hamidou Diallo, when we got him, was in a very similar situation that RJ Hampton was in.
Literally.
He was an energy guy, but you know that he was athletic. He could get up and down the floor. He was going to make smart passes here and there. But he was a gamble.
Yeah.
Look at him now. 2 years later, I believe, averaging nearly 15 points.
Yep.
And a crucial guy on our bench that is more than likely going to be long-term. So I think if we continue to see what we have seen in his first 2 games with the Detroit Pistons, I agree. I think we pick up that team option. I think he's a good guy to have in the locker room. I think he's a talkative guy. I think he communicates well on the court. And, you know, a thing that is always in question with young guys, especially from like 2019 till now, all those guys that have been drafted, is attention to detail and seem like they want to be playing. RJ Hampton always seems to want to be out there playing and that he's in it and he's focused and he's locked in. And I love that because I like Killian Hayes, but there's times where he just doesn't look like he wants to be playing, and that's frustrating. And that's why if I'm a coach deciding who gets the minutes, I'm picking RJ Hampton because that boy wants to play, and I love that as a Pistons fan.
Yeah, he wants to be in Detroit too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because, like, his dad posting all over social media, like, I'm so happy that RJ gets another shot.
Right.
Like, I love that.
Cool. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome. Because if your dad, who's, I don't know, nobody really, if you paid attention to the draft process, there was a video that Bleacher Report had out where it was showing RJ Hampton in the draft process and the real reason why he cried on draft day. And the real reason is because of what his dad did for him and his brother. Like, his dad put in all the hours. It made sure he was training all the time, doing every little thing for RJ so he could be in the NBA. Not because he got drafted 24th overall. Yeah, he did want to get drafted higher.
Right.
Anybody and everyone does. But he's happy to be in the league.
Yeah.
He wants to play. Denver didn't give him the opportunity. Orlando didn't give him the opportunity. And now Detroit, a team that's young, super talented all over, they're wanting to give RJ Hampton the opportunity.
Yep.
And if, in my perspective, if a team's wanting to give me an opportunity, of course I'm going to be excited. I'm going to want to ball out and be on the court every single chance I get.
Totally. And what we saw in 2018 with Stan Van Gundy and Blake Griffin, with Stan as our GM, we saw him not go with young guys. He went and got an old vet that was past his time. Yes, we made the playoffs, but we got swept right away.
Yep.
And then look at where we are now. We're fully developing these young guys, and we're totally bought into these young guys. And I way rather that. I way rather have exciting young players than washed up old vets that get us swept in the playoffs. That's just what I prefer, and that's why I like seeing Troy Weaver completely change what the Pistons typically do. I mean, back in 2008, 2007, we went and got an old Tracy McGrady, and that didn't work at all. We got an old Allen Iverson and traded away a Chauncey Billups. You know, we've seen the Pistons do that so many times, just go and get these old washed-up vets. I like what we're doing. It's different, and if some players don't work out, that's going to happen. We're not going to have a team full of superstars.
No, we're not.
But at least now we can kind of get our sift out and kind of sift and pan for gold. And whatever stays, that's what's going to be our playoff
Yeah,
team.
and honestly, what would you rather do? Would you rather trade away multiple draft picks to get a young guy from a good team that is like supposed to be legit and doesn't pan out, or rather trade away some low-end second-round picks for who was supposed to be a stud, essentially, and like RJ Hampton or James Wiseman,
Right.
where you pretty much get nothing
Yeah.
for a guy that's supposed to be a stud and then pans out. I'd rather have that end of the deal
Yeah.
than trading away high-end picks for a guy that is a question mark.
And we've seen it happen so many times over the years. James Harden get moved to OKC, or get moved out of OKC for a low price and then works out at a young age. We've seen that happen so many times in today's NBA. And I think, that's kind of maybe what's happening here with the Detroit Pistons. Did you have like any accolades that like RJ had like in high school and college, in NBL? I was kind of curious.
The only accolade that I could find was NBA-wise, but that was May of 2021, Rookie of the Month.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay. I thought he won like Gatorade Player of the Year or something. Something sounded familiar about that.
I don't remember
I might
about
be
that
thinking about James Wiseman, though.
Yeah, that was James Wiseman.
Yeah. So what I kind of wanted to get into, RJ's main role on the Orlando Magic was strictly scoring and energy off the bench. And back when he was in high school, he was an offensive juggernaut.
Yeah.
He could go and get buckets. Now, the NBA is very different, even drastically different than I believe than the NBL, where he kind of got his pro debut. Mm-hmm. Guys are so much longer in today's NBA, and we've seen him struggle offensively. Sports writer for the Magic, Philip Rossman, is quoted to write earlier last summer, previous to Summer League, quote, "Summer League would be a chance to cement his growth further just to see where he has improved. Instead, Hampton struggled through Summer League. He still looked like he was out of control, playing too fast and unable to handle the ball as the team's point guard. Worse still, he did not look like a 2-year NBA pro in a setting where most players are just trying to scratch the door on the NBA," end quote. We saw him in Orlando on Summer League, getting his regular minutes during the regular season, being forced to be someone that he's not in today's NBA. Now, RJ's main role, I believe, on the Detroit Pistons should be energy off the bench, but without the ball in his hand. And we know that if Killian's going to be on that second team with him, Killian can take the ball handling away from RJ.
Yep.
So now RJ with Hamidou can worry about getting those easy garbage buckets in the paint, getting those. RJ's a surprisingly good offensive rebounder.
Yeah.
We saw him go and get 5 rebounds against who did we just play? I just forgot. Last night we just did the recap too. We completely.
Charlotte.
Charlotte. We saw him go and get 5 rebounds against Charlotte, so he's proving that he's a solid rebounder. Now, without having to him stress over the ball and worry about running an offense, which he just isn't excelling at in the NBA, he can worry about some other things, the small things like you made mention in the recaps. Because Hamidou Diallo, if you're having him bring up the ball, he's going to struggle so much. That's not what his bread and butter is. And so now we've seen in the years prior, RJ Hampton does not excel with bringing up the ball at point guard number 1 or at shooting guard. So now, let Killian bring up the ball. Let RJ worry about some screenplay. We saw some pick and roll options from him against the Charlotte Hornets. So I'm kind of interested to see how he plays alongside Killian now that he doesn't have to stress about it. And I think he will excel alongside Killian.
Yeah, and to that point, he is in a situation now that is the best for him out of any experience he's had prior.
Yeah.
Just in the sense that he's with an organization that cares about development.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of a knock on Orlando a little bit, just because I see them being a future rival. But they draft for experienced guys. They want the player to be NBA ready and just plug him in and play.
Right, look at Franz Wagner.
Yeah. They're not going to go off and draft a project.
Right.
They're not going to do that. So RJ Hampton, in their eyes, was a project. They're like, yeah, I don't want
Ship him.
Yeah, we don't want him.
Yeah.
Like, we'll take Jalen Suggs, who's going to be in like a average at best NBA player, for rather give him minutes than RJ Hampton, who was ranked much higher than Jalen Suggs coming out of high school and could be much better.
Right.
But he's in a situation now, though, where the Pistons care about developmental kind of strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the perfect situation for him to work on his ball handling, to be a facilitator,
Yep.
to be like maxed out in everything that everybody thought he was going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But in games, he doesn't have to worry about
Yeah,
that
he doesn't
when
have
he
to
has
struggle.
Killian or any of these other guys. Like
Right.
even when you have Corey Joseph in the game, Corey Joseph is an awesome facilitator.
Yep.
And he's a great vet to mentor a young player like RJ Hampton.
Totally.
So, like, we have everything set in stone that is perfect for RJ Hampton to develop, but also do all the little things, like I always mention. Because if he keeps doing the little things, he's going to improve from that standpoint. And then developmental side of things, and behind the scenes, really, in practice and learning different things from Corey Joseph, because he hasn't really had vet point guards around him.
Right.
Because, like, you look at Denver, it was really Monte Morris and Jamal Murray. And
A young Jamal Murray.
Yeah, and they weren't really vets. And then you look at Orlando, the only vet was really Michael Carter-Williams.
Which,
even
not
then,
the best vet.
Not the best vet. So he really hasn't had that vet point guard around him. But Corey Joseph, who is an awesome facilitator,
Champion.
awesome ball handler, has worked with Dwayne Casey in the past, and Dwayne Casey is an awesome developmental coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have all these things around a young guy who's still only 21, has all the potential in the world, I think this is the perfect opportunity for him to excel.
Yeah. One thing about RJ Hampton, too, that I noticed during the Hornets game is his defense is very suffocating. Yeah. He loves getting up in people's grills, and I love Killian, our second team, not starters. Yep. Killian at the 1, RJ at the 2, and then you got Wiseman or Bagley in the paint, two great shot blockers. Dude, that's such a tough defense. Killian has cat-like reflexes, and then RJ's just suffocating with his long arms, long legs.
And you throw Hami in that mix.
And Hami, I know. So it's like that defense is really good, and that's what we've needed help with. Yeah. So that's why I like the RJ Hampton. Plus, we've talked about how RJ can struggle offensively. Yeah. Well, we have Alec Burks, who's an offensive guru coming off the bench. We got Hamidou Diallo, that's basically averaging 15 points. And then we got Killian Hayes, who's going to get his. He's going to get around 7 points each night. He doesn't necessarily have to be a great scorer. We just need help on that defensive end. Help out Hamidou, help out Killian, help out on that workload, and just bring the energy, man. Because once our offense starts figuring it out, we're going to need those energy guys that can play all 4 quarters and bring that energy. And I think he's going to be one of those guys. I think he's going to be like the Dennis Rodman guard. You know what I mean? Like kind of like brings that energy, that effort play guy.
Does everything.
That does a little bit of everything, not necessarily skilled at one thing, but can just do a little bit of everything. So I really like that. One thing I wanted to make mention of was RJ is very similar to like a Tayshaun Prince. He's like a really good defender. His offense is a little streaky at times. But if I'm Dwayne Casey, I'm not going to say forcing RJ, but I'm going to be like, when we're on the planes, I'm going to be like, hey, dude, you better download some Richard Hamilton videos because I want you playing off the ball the way Richard did. Richard did not have to dribble the ball all over the place to go get a bucket like a Steph Curry or an Alec Burks. Alec Burks is great off the dribble. Richard was a high screen, drills a 3 in your face off a pass. That's what we kind of want RJ to be, is a kind of fill that role as a catch-and-shoot guy, especially if Isaiah Livers is going to be in question, if he can stay healthy, if he can step up into a role. If he can't, RJ could easily step into that three-point shooting role. Now, the best year he had with three-point shooting was in 2022, last season, and he shot like 35%, which isn't great, so that that's not ideal. But if his workload is down a little bit and doesn't have to do as much on the offensive end, can kind of let the game come to him, I think we'll see his efficiency get a little bit better, which is just great.
Yeah, and you look at what Casey and the Pistons staff have done with Stu this year. Stu really didn't have a three-point shot.
That's a good point.
And then this year, he's on fire.
Yeah.
He can shoot now. And so I can see them easily developing a 3 with RJ Hampton.
Totally.
If they can do it with Stu or all these other guys, they can do it with Hampton easily.
Absolutely.
And Hampton, he's perfect in the sense that he is unmolded. meaning you could mold him however you want, and he's going to work out in your favor.
Right.
If you give him the time and opportunity to develop, he's going to do his thing. Now I'm going to go back to Orlando and Denver. They don't really give players opportunities to develop. Not a lot of teams in the NBA give opportunities to develop because they just want to win.
Yeah, they're not in the position
But
to.
the Pistons are in the rebuild mode, but in the competitive rebuild mode. So they're going to take flyers on guys that were supposed to be good, like a Kevin Knox, but didn't really do anything special. But Kevin Knox, in his own way, this year did decent for us.
Right.
Enough where Portland's like, hey, we want him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if we can just improve these guys and help us out along the way, this is like the perfect opportunity for us with a young, skillful guard in RJ Hampton.
Yeah, plus we're coming up to the offseason, and we've seen with Killian, Stewart, some of our younger guys that off-seasons are so crucial. And that's why, I was hoping to see Cade a little bit more this season to see how he did in the offseason. But with an offseason coming up, he's going to be with our coaching staff and influenced by our coaching staff being, hey, RJ, this is what we want you doing this week. This is what we want you focusing on this month with your trainer, blah, 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 blah. So then he's kind of being sculpted this offseason to kind of come back next and be ready for Cade Cunningham because y'all better be ready because Cade's coming. He's about to take off that Batman cape, as Detroit Kool-Aid would like to say, and he's coming. And y'all better be ready because all the puzzle pieces might fall in line. East, you better be watching out.
Cade Cunningham, James Wiseman.
Dude, I'm
Jalen
so excited.
Duren, Jaden Ivey.
RJ Hampton. It's like, oh, no. What
It's literally everyone.
Like I can see, like, the loading button, and we're, like, at, like, 65%. And once it hits 100, it just everything might explode.
Yeah.
The
I think
earth
Cade's going to bring everybody together.
The earth might just crack in half.
Literally.
I don't even know what.
Watch out.
Yeah, if the Pistons win a championship or fighting in the East, dude, the earth might crack in half.
Yeah, the East is very weak right now. So
yeah, the West, by the way, I was just thinking this the other day. The West is just so good right now. It's ridiculous.
Literally going into the season, it was like East versus West easily because it was a full-on battle.
Right.
Now it's like,
dude, the West
is gonna kill everyone.
Because, like, I look at quick tangent. I look at the Portland Trailblazers, and I'm like, holy crap, they got a great roster. I really like them. And then they're, like, 7th, 8th in the West. I'm like, what? Like, they got Damian Lillard, and they're 5th.
I'm calling it right now. It's a little off topic.
Yeah.
But Nuggets-Celtics finals.
Really? The Nuggets, that's what you got?
Yeah.
I do like the Nuggets, but the Grizzlies, I'm a big fan of the Grizzlies, so we'll kind of see what happens there. I do love that series, though, Nuggets versus Grizzlies. I would love that.
That'd be Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I know. That would be so much.
Okay.
No, yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Like those two fighting for the chip, Oh, that would be so much fun. Fighting to get to the chip.
But anyways, our point is, RJ Hampton.
We like RJ.
We like RJ. He's fine. He just needs time to develop. He's going to be legit. No worries. And when I say legit, he's going to be legit in his own way.
Right.
Not like, oh my goodness, look at the MVP, RJ Hampton.
Maybe not what people expect from him. It's going to be a little bit what you don't expect.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's fine. He just needs to go out, do his thing, ball out, be himself, and we're chilling.
Yeah. One thing that I kind of see with RJ, too, is I like the way Cade plays, and, we're kind of assuming that when we're at our best, Cade's going to be the best player.
Yeah.
I think when RJ hits his stride, hits his peak, I think he'll be able to guard the opposing team's best player. I think when we play the Bulls, he'll be able to guard Levine. I think when we play the Celtics, he'll be able to guard Tatum or Brown. I think when we play the Grizzlies, he's going to be against Dylan Brooks and John Morant. Like, I think he can be able to guard those guys because I just love the way he plays defense. He just
kind of like a Marcus Smart.
Yeah, like he can, maybe not necessarily like Nikola Jokic, but like he'll be able to guard the best guards on each team and be able to hold his own.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's what the Pistons need right now. We were kind of hoping it would be Killian, but I mean, people might not want to hear this, but I'm worried about Killian's future. I'm worried about what's going to be happening with him.
I'm not too worried.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm on the rocks a little bit about it, but we'll see. I love Killian, so that's why I'm worried because I'm anxious that we might be seeing him leave. But, we're getting closer to wrapping up today's episode. What are some simple expectations for the rest of this season from RJ Hampton as a fan? What can we look at and not be disappointed by?
5 points, 5 rebounds,
Okay.
2 assists,
Okay.
2 steals.
That's a lot to expect, I feel like.
No.
That's a pretty big overall game, you know?
But it's not like he needs to go out every night and do that.
Yeah.
He just needs to go out and do his thing and have a night where it ends up being like that. Or it's
We want to see a couple nights like
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think we want to see him gain, just like what I said with Wiseman, we want to see him gain chemistry with the team. We want to see him enjoy his time in Detroit. There's been so many guys over the years that leave Detroit and they hop on podcasts and they're like, the worst years of my career was when I was in Detroit. Shout out Ben Gordon. I mean,
Blake Griffin.
Just Blake Griffin, all those guys just hating on Detroit. But I want to see him enjoy his time with this young team. I want to see him get a little bit better and hit his stride towards the end of the season. I agree. I think we want to see like 2 steals a night from him. I think that would be great because if we're seeing him defend, that's what the Pistons need help with right now. I want to see him get some big-time dunks here and there. Give the team some momentum, kind of what Hamidou's been doing. And just kind of, I want him to take some notes from Hamidou and Corey Joseph and kind of just be in that learning aspect and kind of, you know, when we see pictures of practice and clips from practice, we want to see him engaged and with the guys and communicating with everybody. And that's also another reason why I like him. I think he's a big-time communicator on the court. I think he's the guy that pulls in huddles during free throws and stuff like that. And I like that because the Pistons need more help in that part.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if he's necessarily a game changer for the Detroit Pistons, but I think that he is one of these puzzle pieces to the overall overarching puzzle of the franchise. And I think he's putting himself in, and I'm excited to see what comes out in the final project. And I'm super excited for that. It's so exciting.
I'm definitely excited.
Well, that will do it for episode number 17. We did a deep dive on RJ Hampton, what we can expect from him, and what his role might look like on the Detroit Pistons. And hopefully he takes advantage of being with a great team in the Detroit Pistons. We're excited about it. Before you leave, we have new merch. So go follow Grind Clothing Co. on Instagram, and you can look in the description of this YouTube video to find a link to our merch. You guys got to step up your style game. I see y'all on Instagram. Step it up, guys. You need some revved up in your life. We will see you guys in episode 18. Peace.